All right, good evening, sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Average Joe Sports Show. I am your host, Braden Good, and once again, we have my good friend Cal Christensen joining us. Cal, how's it going? How's things how's things where you are?
Yeah, things are super good. I'm glad to be back here for the third time, discuss some more of our top shooting guards in the NBA.
Absolutely, yeah. Like Cal was referencing yesterday or a couple days ago, we went over the top 10 shooting guards of all time, and Cal actually had the idea the other night of why don't we do 11 through 20 because no one ever gives those guys some love. So today we're going to go ahead and break it down on the best of the rest, as you would say. So we're going to go ahead and get that started. All right, so we're going to go ahead and come in here, starting with my number 20 pick, which is Hal Greer. This is one of those topics where I feel like I'm not super familiar with all these guys in the back half of this list. So I actually had to do some looking into numbers and seeing what I liked. So yeah, I got Hal Greer at number 20, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. One-time champion, 10-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA. So I mean, he had decent selections as far as what he sort of accomplished in his career, but I don't know. I just wasn't blown away by by the stats that I got from him. Especially his shooting numbers. They're okay. They're not great. I mean, 45 field goal. I'd like to see that a little bit higher. But yeah, so I got him down there at number 20 because I don't know. I just wasn't a huge fan of his stats. So yeah.
Yeah, I think how good selection. He made my list as well. I put him a little bit higher.
Okay.
For that is like the All NBA selections is really what got me with Hal Greer. That's a big thing for me as the All NBA. It shows that he's consistently one of the best players in the entire league for at least 7 years running. So I think he showed that. I mean, despite only averaging 19 points a game over his career, despite that he was extremely consistent and he was playing at a very high level for the better part of a decade.
Yeah.
So a little bit higher on my list because of that, and he does have that one ring, which can be a big thing for some people too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
I
his
gotcha.
selections and his overall consistency was big for me for Hal Greer.
Yeah.
So we'll show
Well, I
my
remember.
list a little bit on the road.
Yeah.
We'll talk more.
I remember that. I remember that from the last time you were talking to. Is you liked longevity of a career. You liked consistency for when you're in your top 10. So number 20, who you got?
All right, so number 20 for me, again, another retro player here. I go with Sam Jones of the Boston Celtics. He was with that really big that Boston dynasty with Bill Russell there. He actually has the second most number of rings of any player in NBA history behind Bill Russell. He has 10 championships to his name there. He's still got pretty decent stats. He's still got 17.7 points per game, almost 5 rebounds, and 2.5 assists. He was like I said, 10-time NBA champion. He was a 5-time All-Star and is a 3-time All-NBA selection on the second team. And throughout his 12-year NBA career, his scoring is a little bit lower career-wise, but it did peak. His best scoring season was 26 points per game, which is exactly what we're looking for our all-time greats in the shooting guard position. So
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
all around, I mean, great statistics, phenomenal career. He definitely benefited from playing on one of the best teams ever assembled.
Oh, absolutely. I mean
But,
that team was insane.
yeah, but he wasn't one of those players that kind of got drug along. He was definitely one of the leading guys. I mean, 26 points per game. I mean, that's a primary, maybe secondary scoring option. So
Yeah. Oh,
he was
absolutely. Especially back in that era when scoring wasn't at a premium. There's a lot of defense was known back then. So I mean that's some pretty good points for back in that day. Um,
yeah, I mean, averaging 80, maybe 90 points a game as a team. 26 looks a
yeah.
lot bigger than.
Yeah, I don't even think I had him on my list. I must. I think I overlooked him a little bit. I might want to adjust my rankings a little bit based off of that. Although, I mean, only 5-time All-Star, no All NBA selection. I mean, that's kind of a bit of a downer right there.
Yeah, he had 3 All NBA selections. It was to the second team, so he didn't have any.
Okay.
He did make it there 3 times. So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well. All right. And then number 19. So number 19,
Wait,
I
man, I don't know if I like your pick.
we're going on. I'm running the show. We're just gonna skip past that point. I'll concede. I'll concede on that one. Moving on down to number
19.
I have Tracy McGrady. I know you think you had him in your top 10, right?
He didn't make my top 10. He made my
he was almost there. Okay.
absence list, but he's definitely on my list. We'll talk about it more.
Yeah. See, I don't know. I feel like for me, I feel like his career wasn't very long, and I feel like he wasn't great for a lot of his career. I feel like he had a few, he had 3 to 5 really good years, and then he just got hit by the injury bug, and that sapped a lot of his athleticism. So I feel like if he had been able to keep that career, if he'd been able to keep that pace throughout his career that he was doing earlier in his career, I probably would have put him a little bit higher. But I just think he was kind of, he had 7 All-Star, 7 All-NBA. Those are probably the 7 years he was good. After that, the injuries sort of got him, and he just, so I just wasn't super impressed by him. So I have him back at number 19, just because he just didn't have the longevity that I'm looking for, on a guy. I want to see a nice, long, productive career. And people actually mentioned, they're saying, oh, it's going to be Tracy McGrady versus Kobe for the near future. And then Tracy McGrady failed to live up to his end of the deal. So, yeah.
Not through no fault of his own, really. I mean, his knees just kind of gave out.
Yeah, you can't control the injury bug. So through no fault of his own, I just, that's why I got him all the way down number 19, because he had a good short career, but no longevity.
Yeah, I think that definitely hurts him a little bit. But I mean, when he was good, he was amazing. I mean, his scoring titles, in Orlando, he was a perennial MVP candidate as well. I mean, he averaged over 32 points a game for one of those seasons that he won the scoring champion, to the scoring title there. So
yeah, 2-time scoring champion. So we
didn't get to see as much of Tracy as we loved to. Oh, sorry, I didn't interrupt you there.
Oh no, you're good.
He entered the league. He wasn't supposed to be, it was supposed to be like your Zion Williamson when he first jumped into the league. He came out of high school. He had limited minutes, on that Toronto Raptors team. So it took him a couple years to really crack that rotation and show what he was made of. But when he did, he was, like I said, phenomenal for all those 7 years. So I put him higher on my list, as we'll see here a little bit. Again, because those 7 All-NBA, he, like I said, he wasn't there for very long, but when he was there, he was one of the best. He was right up there with Kobe.
Absolutely.
The whole way. So
nice, long, rangy guard that could play defense too. So.
Oh yeah, that 6'8" frame. He could drive over and dunk over anybody. One of my favorite highlights is him dunking over Sean Bradley. That 7.
Well, who did dunk on Sean Bradley?
It's true, but it's impressive nonetheless.
Yeah.
If you want to be one of the greatest dunkers of all time, you have to have Sean Bradley on your list.
On your highlight reel, on your poster.
Yeah. But even despite that, he was a lights out shooter as well. Our other favorite highlight reels to watch is his 13 points in 30 seconds against the San Antonio Spurs. That guy could just put up points in a hurry. And like we kind of discussed last night a little bit, that he had that Mamba mentality. I felt like that he was a killer. He was going to go over, around, through you to get to the bucket. And he had the body and the tools. So I have McGrady high on my list.
Yeah.
Some of my personal bias may play into that as well. But he, regardless where he lands, he definitely deserves to be here.
Oh, absolutely. He's definitely up there as, not one of the greats, but he's good. So 19, who you got?
Okay, number 19 for me, it was a player that actually made your top 10, but I selected Alvin Robertson.
Okay.
As my team there. So a little bit farther down on my list than you did have him, but we talked about him a lot last time, so I won't go into super big details. Just a few things I don't feel like we mentioned. He's one of the few players in NBA history that actually accomplished the quadruple double. I don't know if you mentioned that last night.
Oh, I did not. I didn't see that.
Yeah. He's one of the only players. He's actually by far the shortest person to complete that.
Well, so what did he get it in? Did he get it in steals? Was his 4th or?
Yeah. So his stat line he put up was 20 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, and 10 steals. So
that's not bad. That's an elite club.
That's a pretty tough. Yeah. He's the only one to hit there's only like 5 of them that have ever done it. He's the only one to hit it in steals. Everybody else has hit it in blocks, and they're like 6'11", 7.
bunch
the
of
years.
gigantic centers and forwards. So
Yeah.
wow, that's actually really
Like,
impressive.
I
10
think like
steals, 10 steals in the game.
10
Like
steals. Yeah.
wow.
So,
Like
and we talked about it a lot last night, but he was incredible. I mean, his highest steals per game was 3.7 when he led it. Like you said, he's the only player. He has the highest steals per game average in the entire history of the NBA, and
it's nothing to
yeah,
sneer
and
at.
he's still top 10 of all steals. So
Oh yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have the offensive that I like to look at, but those, I mean, you can't slouch those defensive statistics.
No,
sugar with
that's definitely getting it done.
Yeah.
All right.
It'll
So
always win you points in my book.
yeah.
Anyway, back to you.
All right, let's
Number
go
18.
ahead and let's go ahead and get trucking down to number 18, where I've got Vince Carter. So I got the cousins sitting next to each other. You know, Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady were related.
Yeah.
Vince Carter, I put him at 18 because his stats weren't, he was never, he was he was the human highlight reel, man. That guy, when he got up in the air, like I remember his All-Star game when it was over. Like after he made his second dunk and everyone is saying,
Yeah.
it's over. It's over.
Yeah. Kenny the Jet Smith, it's over.
Exactly. Like everyone knew it was over
I can
because
hear
that leaping ability, everyone was just floored. And so, 16.7 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and he played well into his 40s, I think. Like he was still playing, way.
Yeah, 22 years, man.
And he was able to, what I also think we gave him credit, that he was able to evolve his game. Like back in the day, he was an explosive scorer, main guy on a team. And then as he got older, he's like, you know what, I'm going to become more of this veteran presence. I'm going to help out the young guys. I'm going to be a 3-point shooter. I'm going to go ahead and sit out there and snipe the ball, not really, be as athletic as I was. So I got him at number 18, 8-time All-Star, only a 2-time All-NBA selection. But at the same time, he was also playing in sort of a golden age of shooting guards, I think, where there was a lot of competition for those All-NBA spots.
Yeah. I mean, that was the years when Kobe was big, and Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, you had all those guys.
Dwayne Wade is a big one.
They're all running around at the time. And if you look at like his early career, as far as his scoring goes, early in his career, he's sitting roughly 20 points a game. It was then the last 6 years of his career, when he was on a downward swing, he was getting less than 8 points a game for an average. So that definitely tanked his shooting. That definitely tanked his points per game average. But still, back when he was younger, he was getting you 20 points easy. There was no sweat. So, plus he got a Rookie of the Year. You can't knock it. Can't knock rookies of the year.
Yeah, he definitely had that. I mean, it was impressive, the leap he made into sophomore year as well. He went from averaging, I think it was like 18.3 points a game his rookie season, all the way to about 25 a game that next year. And he really was responsible for putting, Canadian basketball on the map. I mean, the Toronto Raptors were a really young club at that time, and Vince Carter is just what they needed to really make them a respectable ball club organization.
Yeah, and get them in the public eye.
Yeah, Air Canada. Yeah, he makes my list as well. Of course, I mean, he's not going to be left off anyone's top 20 here.
Oh, no.
And he crept a little bit higher and a couple more spots up there for me. But yeah, I think, like you mentioned, he really adapted his game. I think it's a big thing which allowed him to play those 22 years, where a lot of these other players, I mean, they did the few things they did amazingly. They did it for, 14, 15 years even. And then once they couldn't do that, they hung up the shoes.
Yeah.
He was able to reinvent himself. But I mean, he was even a pretty good 3-point shooter early in his career too. I mean, with the Nets, I think the year he averaged the highest points per game that he ever had in his career. He actually averaged 42% behind the arc that year as well. So he was still shooting really good even early in his career before he had.
2004, 2005. Yeah, that season he was. Almost 28 points a game on, shooting 43% from 3, 47%.
Like Stephen Curry numbers.
Yeah, like that's pretty good. And that was a pretty good team too. They're one of those teams that went into the Lakers, and Lakers, Shaq and Kobe chewed them up and spat them out.
Yeah, you couldn't beat that team. So
he didn't get that ring. So all right, so number 18, who you got?
Number 18 for me, I got Earl the Pearl Monroe. Got Black Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Players there. Did he make your list at all?
I think I have him a little bit higher. Maybe
Okay.
not. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember my top 10. I'm trying to remember who's on it. I'm like, I don't remember off the top of my head. Like, I know I looked at him. I don't know if I put him on or not.
Mhm. So the reason, I mean, for me that he kind of fell to my 18th spot is throughout his career, he was only a 4-time All-Star, and he won an NBA championship later in his career. I mean, he had 18.8 points per game, 3 rebounds, and just under 4 assists. His career was kind of interesting statistically wise. I mean, he started his best year was arguably his rookie season, where he had 24.3 points per game his rookie season, win the Rookie of the Year award, and his best game came with 56.9. So I mean, he came into the league and he just wrecked. I mean, the guy was a machine. He put the ball in the bucket. And he stayed pretty good for like the next 4 or 5 years, and he started dropping his average down into the teens. So his whole career was kind of like this like downhill decline, which is super interesting. But despite that, he was still an incredible ball player with the Washington Bullets at the time. So he definitely still made my list.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good pick. Yeah, like I said, I think I took a look at him. I don't think I put him on. Like, I'm trying to think. Like, I don't think I would have put him up any higher than where you had him. So I don't think I put him on there. Just
Mhm.
because, I also like seeing a lot of, I like seeing the individual awards and individual accolades. That's something I like seeing. So
Yeah, that's one thing that was kind of missing. Those All NBA selections,
yeah,
which is why and Tracy McGrady got put higher on my list.
I like those. But all right, so there's number 18. Number 17. For me, I got Joe Dumars, who was contemporary,
Mhm.
played in the '80s, part of that Bad Boy Pistons team. I mean, decent stats, shot a good percentage, 46%. He was the finals MVP, which is not something that a lot of players can put on their resume. When you think about it, there's only, there's only one champion a year, and there's only one person on that team that's going to get it. So he won twice, all defensive team selection. He was on the all defensive team multiple times, 3-time All NBA, Finals MVP, 6-time All Star. So I think he was a gritty, good player. He sort of helped that defense along. I looked at his defense. His defense numbers weren't mind blowing. Like, he had less than a steal a game, and it wasn't super impressive. I feel like he had more of a reputation as being an on ball defender, not so much as a guy that's going to
Mhm.
get out and steal. But he got the ball in the hoop. He was part of that Bad Boy Pistons team and 2-time NBA champion. So
Yeah, definitely. I think it's super impressive that he got that Finals MVP, especially had players like Isaiah Thomas on that same team or Bill Laimbeer. And to kind of go off what you're saying with his defensive stats, it's really hard to kind of capture in a box score the effect the player has on the
yeah,
defensive end, especially like even if your defensive stats do look good. I mean, 2.7 steals is incredible. Speaking of Alvin Robertson again, but that's 2.7. I mean, that's not a huge number, I mean, there's
yeah,
not a lot of variance in 1 and 2, so
yeah,
it's really kind of hard to gauge that. But his defensive team selections really speak for themselves. So he was a great two-way player. So he definitely made my list as well.
yeah.
I
All
think
right.
he actually to me to all the way to 15. So we'll see him here in
Oh,
a
okay.
second.
Yeah, that's not too bad. So number 17, who you got?
So number 17 for me, I had probably a really underrated player, Mitch Richmond, in my number.
I got him a little bit lower. I got him too. I think
Okay,
he's
good.
coming up. I
I
think
to make
he's
sure.
coming up next. But yeah. But anyways, go.
Yeah,
Mitch
yeah.
Richmond.
Yep, Mitch Richmond. I mean, he had phenomenal statistics at his career. He had 21 points per game, just under 4 rebounds and 3.5 assists. He was a 6-time All-Star and a 5-time All NBA selection, and then he finally won a ring in 2002 as a member of the Lakers. And I think he
Yeah.
played 4 minutes total the whole playoff run.
Hey, you know what?
But he
Hey,
got it. He got that ring.
yeah. Hey, he was a good shooter. He could shoot the ball, and I'm sure if they needed some shots, they could have gone to him for that. Um,
Yeah, and then they did let him, dribble the clock out when they won that title, which I thought was pretty cool. But back to him in his heyday, like you said, he was a lights out 3-point shooter, and he played in that same era as kind of like Clyde Drexler and Michael Jordan. He was actually compared consistently to Michael Jordan at that time as well, because they're both high flying, high scoring guards. and he was able to do a lot of his damage from behind the arc.
Which is a little unfair to compare anyone to Michael Jordan. I mean, let's just be honest. Everyone's become a little bit lacking compared to Michael, but no, I think he had a good career. Solid player. He was one of those guys. I feel like he wasn't gonna get. He was good with the role that he was in. I feel like he wasn't really like a marquee name for a lot of the years. Actually, let's see. I think I have him up here next. Let's see. Yeah. So I mean, he was only a 6-time All-Star. But he was a rookie of the year, which is something that, a lot of people overlook is the rookie of the year. So, but yeah, almost 40% from the 3-point line. I mean, that's lights out shooting, 85 free throws. So, you put him on the line, he's going to make his shots. And, he was just a good, solid player sitting there at number 16.
Yeah, he did play in a couple like smaller market teams like Golden State and Sacramento. So he wasn't like, in LA or New York. Or even Chicago, where the lights were a lot bigger there. But I mean, 22 points a game as a rookie, and he continued that for the rest of his career. That's nothing to look down on for sure.
Yeah, definitely worthy of this list. So so we've already talked about my number 16. Who you got at 16?
So 16 for me, this is where I put Vince Carter.
Okay.
I selected at 16. I just think. His longevity was huge. I mean, 22 years, he was able to still stay relevant. His career points per game would look a lot better if you would probably take off the last 8 years or so.
Yeah.
But he was able to do in Canada, like we talked about, just how huge he was. Puts him pretty high on this list for Vince.
Yeah. So that's a good solid pick. Number 15. I know you don't like. I know you don't like putting current players in the top list because their story is not written yet. But I think Klay Thompson's done enough where I can put him in here, number 15, almost 20 points a game, 46% field goal, pretty much 42% from the 3-point line, 5-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, an all defensive team selection, 3-time NBA champion. He was sort of part of the driving force that got that Warriors team to the finals all those times. They don't win 3 championships without his defense, without his shooting.
No,
I mean, he is a player who he can shoot you into a game or he can shoot you out of a game if he's hot or not. And when he's hot, he's hot. Like he dropped like 30 points in a quarter, something like that.
I think it was like 39 or something. 39, actually,
something like in a quarter. Like
it was an insane
one quarter. Just dropped 30 points in a quarter, like over 30 points in a quarter. No one like when he's on, he's lights out. I actually wanted Lakers to sign him before he became a free agent a few years ago. I was hoping they'd get him, but he decided to go back to Golden State. But would have been nice to see him, come play for his dad's team. That would have been awesome. I wouldn't have hated that. But but yeah, I got him at 15. Just because I think he's done enough in his career as a shooter. He's going to go down as one of the 2-3 greatest shooters of all time.
He has to. I mean, he has. I don't know if this is a legitimate statistic, but I'm going to say it here. It came from here first. But he has the most points per dribble I've ever seen in my life. Like, 3 dribbles a game and score 35.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. He just catch the ball and shoot, catch the ball and shoot, catch the ball and shoot.
Yep.
Lights out.
He is the ultimate catch and shoot shooter. He's the ultimate release valve. I mean, he's the guy you want on the opposite end of the floor where you're running your pick and roll. I mean, he's the guy that you cannot play off him an inch or he's gonna bury a 3 in your face. So, I mean, a career 42% 3-point shooter, that's insane.
And he was argue with that.
Yeah, and he was the first. I believe he was the first one to break Kobe's record of most points in a game. I think it was 11 or 12. Something and he broke that record. Steph Curry broke it not too long later. So, I mean, that right there, that give him a couple more years in the league, and he'll be knocking on Ray Allen's record as well.
Yeah. So he had 4. Let's see. I'm looking that up right now for the most 3-pointers in the game. So you had so he did it back. So he had 14. He's actually the current leader with 14 in a game.
14. Okay. So I feel like he broke it, and like Steph Curry broke his, and he then like broke it again. I maybe remember that incorrectly, but
no, he's definitely I think that's the only time he appears. No, he's on there like way down at the bottom. Like so, no, he actually Steph Curry broke it. It looks like Kobe did in 2003, and then Donyell Marshall back in 2005, who no one's ever heard of him. Then Steph Curry broke it. Then he broke it again. Then Zach LaVine tied it with Curry, and then Thompson blew past him with 14 in a game.
Okay,
Back in
gotcha.
2018.
So I knew Curry broke it too. For some reason, I thought Clay
Yeah,
did.
he broke it twice.
but yeah, I mean, that's what more can you say? He's I didn't put him on my list, like you said, because he's a current player. But I mean, by the time he retires, he'll be on it for sure. He's a guaranteed Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah, and he might even crack my top 10 if he keeps playing like he does. You know, has a good solid career. I might have him crack my top 10 in the near future.
Yep, I've seen a couple current lists where he makes 9 or 10, so he's already there.
Yeah. So 15 for you. Who you got?
For me, number 15, that's what I put Joe Dumars. I mean, like we just talked about him, he's a phenomenal player on both ends of the ball, great two-way player. He was averaged 27 points per game in that championship run where he went Finals MVP. I mean, he's one of the greatest ever for that Bad Boys Pistons team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
they don't win without him.
One thing we didn't mention that speaks a lot to me, we talked about this a lot last night, is just speaking to the greatness of Michael Jordan, is how many Hall of Fame players he was able to prevent from getting any rings. Well, Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars, they were responsible for preventing a lot of MJ's potential.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he ran past those guys.
The Piston wall, and he was done. He couldn't stop that.
They just bodied him up. He had to put on some muscle to get past him, but they would just knock him to the ground. They weren't afraid to play dirty. And I mean, personally, I like that style of play. Like, I know it's not the clean game everyone loves, but I love the physical play, man. Like, I'm playing pickup or one-on-one. I love getting physical, setting hard screens or, getting bodying up right on the guy. It doesn't make me very many friends when I'm playing, but I love playing hard physical. That's sort of what that's the style I love. So I love the Pistons because that's what they were known for. So Dumars, definitely. I got respect for that. Number 15. That's a good place. 15. It's a good spot for him.
Yep. How about you, number 14?
Number 14, we're sitting on. I got Manu Ginobili.
Okay.
I actually, it's actually funny because I read an article. There was someone said that he was the greatest. Was it sixth man of all time? I think something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm like, oh no, sorry, it was the greatest second round pick of all time. That's what it was. I remember.
Oh, okay.
We actually talked about that. Like, I think we talked about that almost. I was probably like, it was months and months and months ago. I feel like we talked.
We did because I think someone said it was just like we thought it was far-fetched claims about Draymond Green being the greatest defender of all time and greatest second round pick of all time.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about Manu Ginobili.
Yeah, we talked about Manu Ginobili. It's like he was a second round pick. I mean, look at what he did. Two-time All-Star, two-time All-NBA, sixth man of the year, won the championship 4 times. Getting it done on both sides of the ball. I mean, he was a crafty. I think he invented the Euro step. Like he was.
If he didn't invent it, he's the one that put it in the
big. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the what's the word I'm looking for? I guess the pioneer.
Yeah, he was the pioneer. He was the pioneer of the
Euro step.
He brought that to the NBA. And but you look at his points, rebounds, assists, they're not going to blow you away, but he was a key role player for those Spurs teams. They don't win without him. He hit several big shots during those championship runs, and they don't win without him. So I got him number 14. Like I said, numbers aren't super mind-blowing, and but the fact that he was only a two-time All-Star, that's because he was overshadowed. He played on a team with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker. He might have been there for the tail end of David Robinson, back when they were the Twin Towers.
And the beginning of the Kawhi Leonard reign as well.
Yeah, exactly. So he was always sort of overshadowed, so he never got the respect that he was due. So I'm going to give him some of his dang respect right now. Number 14. I'm going to give him some respect because he got overshadowed. He could have done more. If he was on a different team where he had a bigger featured role, I feel like he could have had his points per game, points, rebounds, assists. Those would have all been way up. But he was just willing to go. He was willing to put his ego to the side to help his team win. And when they did, 4 rings. Can't argue with 4 rings.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like Greg Popovich, I mean, this kind of speaks to his genius, what he's able to do with Manu Ginobili. I think if after he would have been discovered, everyone saw how great he was. Had he been traded to another team, we probably would have saw bigger numbers. But I think the reason why he had the career that he did is because he was put in the positions by Popovich and given the chance to succeed. So, Manu, he didn't make my list, unfortunately. I was looking for kind of some more eye-popping individual accolades. That is no disrespect to Manu Ginobili. He's one of my favorite players, I mean, I would probably argue that him and Kevin McHale were the greatest six men ever to play the game.
Oh, and
And
Kevin McHale wasn't even a six man. Kevin McHale was a starter, but he was still a six man even as a starter because he just sort of.
Yeah, that's what he was, a starter and a six man and an all-star. And
yeah, he did the dirty work. Like Kevin McHale was. I mean, I hate Kevin McHale. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I hate him because he's a Celtic. Just like I hate, just like I hate Larry Bird a little bit because he broke my Lakers' hearts so many times.
You have to.
I have to, but I respect him as a player. I just don't like that he played for the Celtics.
But yeah, I think he's one of the debatably the greatest six men of the year ever. I mean, obviously he's probably the 1, 2, or 3 greatest second round draft picks of all time as well.
Oh yeah.
He didn't quite get this because of individual accolades, but I mean, I feel like he's a coach's dream. He's the guy.
Oh yeah, he's the guy you want
required to win the game. Yeah.
Yeah, you dream of coaching guys like that who have no ego, no sense of me. They're like team.
Mm-hmm. There's no drama. I mean, he's just everybody wants a balding white guy to take you to the NBA Finals.
Alex Caruso.
I was actually surprised he didn't crack your top 20 yet.
He hasn't done enough. He's a fan favorite, but he hasn't. I can't justifiably put him over. Well, maybe I could put him there over. I don't know. I could probably put him in there. I don't even know. I'm trying to think. I could put him maybe over Tracy McGrady. I like him more than Tracy McGrady. I could put him there over Tracy McGrady.
What?
I think
you're just saying that to stab me in the heart.
I'm gonna replace that. Tracy McGrady, you've been replaced with Alex Caruso. I got to go with my boy.
Can't do T-Mac dirty like that. Oh my gosh, Alex Caruso, he's the GOAT. But I mean,
yeah. Anyways,
all right.
14. Who you got?
Moving forward, number 14. This is where I put Hal Greer at. I had him as my number 14 overall. I just think he had just some great statistics. The individual accolades are there for me. I mean, his All-NBA. I mean, he had 7 times he was selected as that. So I thought that definitely put him high up in my book. And we already discussed most of them there. So no need to go any further. Just one of the all-time greats. He made my number 14.
Yeah. So for my number 13 pick, I'm going to go with Gail Goodrich, the other half of that Lakers backcourt combo, him and Jerry West. Those two guys were both key to the Lakers winning. You won that one championship they won, man. They don't get it without Gail Goodrich. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Not at all.
I mean, 18 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, he doesn't really have too much of a, not too shabby. He only had 1 All-NBA team, 5-time All-Star. But to be fair, he was also playing on a team that featured Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain for a time there. So he was always he was definitely that third option on that team because Wilt's going to get his, Jerry West is going to get his. So Gail Goodrich was sort of what picked up what was left and still almost getting 19 points a game, off of 45% free throw shooting, and there was no 3-point line. I don't know how good he would have been back from the 3-point line, but. I definitely got him there. Number 13. I got to show some more love to my Lakers. I mean, they're always going to have a special place in my heart.
Yeah, there's no personal bias there at all.
No, not at all. No personal bias.
Yeah, he's a super good player. Unfortunately, I had to cut him from my list. It was kind of heartbreaking. I got it narrowed down to 11 guys, and he got bumped. But
yeah.
he deserving to be in the top 20 of all time. I just feel like the All-NBA selections weren't quite enough for me. And I mean, 5-time All-Star is great, but considering how long he played, that just wasn't quite enough for me. I feel like to crack the 10 we're looking for today, but by no means any disrespect to Gail Goodrich at all.
Yeah. So number 13, who you got sitting?
Number 13 for me, got another an oldie but a goodie. This is got Bill Sharman came in as number 13 overall. He's one of those old players. Probably not a lot of casual NBA fans are familiar with him, but man, he was one of the all-time greats, especially back in the day. He has career averages of 17.8 points per game, on 3.9 rebounds per game, 3 assists. He's a 4-time NBA championship, 8-time All-Star, and he had 7 All-NBA selections. Again, I've spoken it multiple times a day. That's really what spoke to me when I made this list, is how many of your All-NBA selections you had. And he was one of the greatest free throw shooters of all time, especially in the earlier stages of the NBA. He still holds the record for most consecutive free throws ever made in a playoff with 56. And he led the NBA 7 times in free throw percentage. And five of those seasons were consecutive. And that was just recently broken by another player. I failed to write his name down. But he was a Stephen Curry before Stephen Curry, and unfortunately played in the pre-3-point line era. So his offensive numbers would probably be bolstered again, like we just discussed at length about Pete Maravich, if the 3-point line would have been a thing in his career.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm looking at his free throw percentage. I mean, he was an 88% free throw shooter for his career. That's nothing to laugh at. Like, you know,
And that was,
I mean, he was
88
even, yeah, he was, yeah, and he was even part of, let's see, he was actually, I mean, that was before they did the 3-point line, but if they had a 3-point line, he might have been part of the 40, 50, 90 club. You know, he was 40, where he was 90% from the free throw line. He had the year where he averaged 90
multiple years.
So,
yeah.
So
I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, he would have been a serious contender that elite 40, 50, 90 club.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so Bill Sharman, number 13. That's what he lands in for me.
So let's see.
You probably didn't make it on your list because he was a Celtic, huh?
Nope. I kind of cast a little. I don't think I have any. Oh no, wait, I have Ray Allen. I was gonna say I don't think I have any Celtics on my list. I'm like, no, I got Ray Allen.
Okay. So no, like you didn't make Bill Sharman to make your list. Sam Jones didn't make your list, but Gil on there. So
yeah, well, hey, he's a Laker boy, Hall of Famer. I know. I mean, I can't say no to that.
And the other two were. They're both Hall of Famers.
But they weren't on the Lakers.
Yeah, it's true.
I got a strong Laker bias on these lists. All right, don't hold it against me.
I mean, they have the players, so
yeah, they got a story to
put
history.
them on there. Absolutely.
Okay. Trying to make
number 12 overall. Who do you got?
Number 12, I got David Thompson. I remember we talked about him the other night. You know, you're mentioning the story where he thought, oh, I scored 70 points in the game. I got this. And then he sees George Gervin
goes out and scores 63.
63. And then I just got his dream crushed. But, you know, 4-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, Rookie of the Year, Hall of Famer, 50% field goal shooter, 78% from the free throw line, 22 points, I mean, the dude could score buckets. I mean, let's just be real here. Dude got buckets. He got the ball in the hoop. I don't know what else there is to say about him.
Yeah, David Thompson comes in at number 12 on my list as well.
Woo, look at that.
Not the same there as well. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, David Thompson, the Skywalker, that guy, not only could he put the ball in the bucket, but he would put it there with authority. The guy was an insane leaper. Michael Jordan is quoted as saying that David Thompson is the guy that really made the vertical leap important. He's the one that made it what it is today. It was funny story about David Thompson. He actually came in second in the slam dunk contest held by the ABA, the American Basketball Association. He lost out to Dr. J, Julius Erving. And later when he then competed in the All-Star game, he was the All-Star game MVP. And for that award, his prize was a TV set. David Thompson, All-Star MVP.
Whoa, All-Star
what do you win today? A brand new television.
That's a little sad, to be honest. If that was the prize. Now they're getting probably 25, 30 grand bonus for winning the All-Star game nowadays, or for being the All-Star game MVP these days. But
I mean, yeah, that was probably a really big deal at the time, and I mean that's probably all the American Basketball Association could afford. So
yeah, they weren't rolling the money yet. So then number 11, you brought him up on you brought him up on your top 10. I got Reggie Miller at number 11. You know, I mean, stats aren't going to blow you away. 18 points, 3 assists, 1 steal. Like it doesn't have blow away numbers. But I feel like he was one of those guys that he could score buckets in the clutch. I remember, we might have mentioned this earlier when he was playing with them. When he played against the Knicks, Spike Lee was running his mouth and he went and scored 8 points in 11 seconds. Scored the ball, got it back, scored the ball, got it back. Like he just went off, and they won that game because he just went on that little mini explosion to close it out. So I got him number 11 just because, I mean, his numbers aren't gonna blow you away. But when it came to winning time, you wanted the ball in his hands. The dude was a clutch shooter, was a guy that wasn't afraid to make it and take that big shot. Another long, rangy forward guard. So I got him there. That's sitting there at number 11. Yeah, 5-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA. So
Yeah, I'm a big Reggie Miller fan. I talked about him at length in our last video. He cracked 10. But I mean, he was a killer. The guy had that Mamba mentality that we we talk about a lot, I feel like, but it's a big deal for me.
Oh yeah, I think it should be
Edge.
for everyone. Like that's what sets you apart. You know, those are what makes a player great, is being able to shut out the noise and just go to work and get that bucket when you need it.
Do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So yeah, Reggie Miller. Number 11 for me. Top of my list. I was Tracy McGrady. T-Mac came. He topped my list. No personal bias there at all, I promise.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. You're just gushing about him earlier.
Yeah, I know. But just to rehash a little bit what we said earlier. So 11 and 12 was Tracy McGrady and David Thompson. I feel like they are both some of the greatest what could have been stories in the NBA. David Thompson was cut short by injury and substance abuse, and Tracy McGrady was cut short because of his injuries to his knees and the super weird playoff curse. We can never advance past the second round, despite whatever team he was on. But I mean, when he was good, he was unstoppable. He was so much fun to watch. Remember the Yao Ming, Tracy McGrady era in Houston, and they were just unstoppable. I remember when Yao Ming got injured for quite some time, and Tracy McGrady put that team on his back and won what was at that time a league record. I think it was like 28 games in a row, something like that. It's an insane number of consecutive wins, which is
that's not the lead record. The lead record is 33 games, and that's held by my Lakers. What 33 games straight?
They still hold that record?
They still hold that record, baby. That no one's touching that 33.
I thought Miami beat that.
No, they got close.
I look that up now. I was wrong.
Yeah, no, my Lakers still got that.
I've been believing a lie my whole life now. I thought LeBron's Miami team won that.
Nope. They 33 consecutive wins in 71-72, which I believe is also the year that the Lakers won that title. I think that's the year that Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain won the title.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe it was the second most is probably what I was thinking of. Because it was 33.
So the Golden State Warriors had 28 in 2014 to 16. Miami Heat had 27. Houston Rockets. The 2000 was Trace McGrady with the Houston Rockets in 2007, 2008.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was
right
a 22. That was a 22 game.
22. Okay.
Well, I came in at number 4.
Had that all messed up in my head.
But for a time, it was number 2 until it got passed. So it was number 2 for a while. So
that's probably what I was remembering there. It was number 2. So anyway, we're just insane because I feel like he did that all on his own. So yeah, he was a player for the time that he was granted to play the game of basketball.
Oh yeah, he was great for those few years when he was those few years he was a transcendent talent. Like he was great, and then injuries came and just sucked his life away, you know. But yeah, but hey, you know what? I got to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and replace your pick of Trace McGrady at number 11 with Alex Caruso. He's going to leapfrog the entire list. I'm bumping Tracy McGrady off. He's going to go up into the ether.
That may be an unforgivable sin there.
Well, you know, I got my Lakers bias going, so you know it's okay.
We've seen that in this whole video. Again, with these kind of lists, though, there's going to be some notable absences. Was there anybody that didn't make your list that you want to mention now before we wrap up?
But I think Bill Sharman, Sam Jones, you know, those couple of Celtics. You know, I couldn't give them love for the simple fact that they're the Celtics. I think there's a couple more. I'm trying to think of who they were off the top of my head. I know I was looking at a couple more where I was like, I don't know if I'm buying that. Yeah, Earl Monroe. I definitely took a look at Earl Monroe before I passed on him. I think that's about it though, as far as like the notable, you know, people that I took off the list. Yeah, Earl Monroe. You know, your Celtics guys. Celtics.
Yeah.
Who are some of the people that you left off of your list there then?
Well, again, like you said, no one has already been mentioned right now. Manu Ginobili was a big one for me, and Gail Goodrich was another selection that I unfortunately had to cut. So, again, all-time greats didn't make my list, but they still made the video today.
Yeah, there you go. Still talked about them. So
Yeah, they still got their respect. So hats
they
off.
yeah.
Go Goodrich
What's
and
that
Manu.
LeBron said at the end of the playoffs? Give me my dang respect.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so there you have it. There we've got our top 10 lists. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Cal. Super appreciate it. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you want me to talk about. Cal, thanks for coming. Any last parting words before we close out?
Just again, thank you so much for having me on here. Love it as always. And yeah, look forward to next time.
All right, man. Sounds good. Have a good night.